Happy Monday. I swear my right headphone isn't working. Yeah, I'm only getting sound on my left. Oh. There we go, wasn't plugged in. Good morning. Alright, I'm giving vertical streaming another try on YouTube. See how that goes. Morning, yo. But man, going live on YouTube is, you have, if you want to stream vertical, you have to schedule a stream, and then you have to schedule your other stream too. So you have to make two separate streams, and you have to schedule them. You can't just like hit live on OBS, and you have to go through like the process of like checking all the boxes and doing everything. It takes forever. But yeah, but also shorts. I uploaded a short. Well, it's good views, easy to get views. Not much else has come from it, but yeah, it was easy views. And also I feel like shorts people are kind of a different breed. Like, I added like all the like sound effects and like, you know, like attention stuff, and then there's like an end part where I didn't, and that's literally where all the viewers fell off. It's like where all the whoosh, whoosh, like whooshes and stuff stopped is when they fell off like halfway through. It's like no, there's like requirements. You have to have like 1 million views and like a certain amount of subscribers or something. It's kind of like it's separate from the normal monetization. I don't, yeah, so I'm not exactly sure, but no, you have to work your way up to it just like you do normal monetization on YouTube. But I do have an Instagram from Technonomicon, and if I'm gonna try and upload a few more shorts, and if I kind of like it or enjoy it, or kind of it's going somewhere, then I'll probably maybe cross post. I don't know what it looks like on Instagram, but yeah, so we'll see. So I realized my camera zoomed out a lot more. I was testing out stuff. Whatever, I'll keep it. But today we're just gonna, there's been a few now that Trump's kind of picked some cabinet members, there's been a bit more intel about policy, AI policy, and I'm just really interested because I think that we're at an interesting time right now for AI, and Trump is in a unique position to kind of really influence the future, like these next few years, and kind of future of AI and how it how, like, I don't know how much the government's going to be involved or not involved, and I think it's going to be important for years for AI, in the hopes that, you know, we could have them take over stuff that we don't really want to do as humans. And yeah, there's been a lot of developments here these past few days, and I think it'd be interesting to check in, update it. California has had some developments, because California's kind of been, you know, trying to quote Trump-proof the state before he takes office here in January, and they passed some AI bill laws, and then their commerce secretary, I guess, wants to get on it too. Trump's commerce secretary pick. So there is interesting time, and also considering that Biden actually did quite a bit with AI policy, at least in some executive orders, and how the other departments, Department of Defense and like State Department, have all kind of had their own issued their own opinions on AI policy. So yeah, let's just jump in here. I'm using a different, how do I get out of this? I'm using a oh wait, I'm not even sharing my screen. I used to use Obsidian, which is like a note-taking tool, and now I'm trying to use this one called Capacities, and I might do a review on it or something, but it's been good so far. It takes uses an object Like it has like objects, like you can create objects, and it makes it really easy to like create things. So like I have a briefing for my like stream every day, and all I have to do is just click a button, and it kind of has a bunch of stuff filled out already. It's been kind of cool. I tried a similar one called AnyType, and it was a little bit more it was harder to use and not really as friendly. And I like these kind of being more of an application versus like a just like a static piece of software. I like it being a bit more like looking like an application, kind of like Notion if you're familiar. But yeah, anyways, it's kind of weird though. I need to like the way I would organize. Anyways, yeah, so I need to get used to it. Yeah, let's start with this one. This is a bit more of an overview, and then we'll go into California and what they're doing with AI policy, and Trump's Commerce Secretary pick. So some ran out of her milk alternative, so I just have a tiny cup with water. But I'm drinking the mushroom coffee. It's been pretty good. Would recommend. All right, let me accept my topic. Oh shoot, actually I can't do that. Right, never mind. I changed a lot of stuff this weekend, so I'm kind of getting used to it. OBS is different now for me. All right. Prepare for an AI policy upending under Trump, say experts. Biden's executive orders are as good as dead, and the industry will probably have more to say in what comes next. And we kind of went over the executive orders previously, but it's kind of just like ways to be safe, ensure their safety, and then they even propose potentially having certain tests that you need to pass, or the government be involved in making sure those tests are passed, like safety tests. And obviously that's a lot to ask for, and will definitely slow them down in a way. But especially now that we're getting AI in like Department of Defense and in military uses, I think that's kind of important now. But that could be a separate issue. Chaga? No, everyday dose, I think. Yeah, everyday dose. Would recommend. I tried what's that other, like Ryzen or Rise? Yeah, this one is horrible. This one was not good. I tried this one and it just didn't taste like coffee. It just didn't taste good. But there's not coffee in it. And then this everyday dose. Yeah, mud. This is essentially like an alternative to the mud water. This one is what I tried and am drinking right now, and it's really good. It has a little bit of coffee in it, which I think is kind of what makes it taste like coffee, and it just tastes a little better. And I would recommend this one so far. I've had it for about 2-ish weeks, week and a half, and yeah, it's okay. But it's mainly the Lion's Mane. But they don't really, yeah, but it is chaga right here, you're right. With the personal roasting, yeah. Yeah, I would try it. Oh yeah, here it is. But yeah, I would recommend. They had a Black Friday sale, that's kind of why I tried it. I don't know where the prices are, but yeah, it was like $26 and they gave you a bunch of stuff, so I was like, all right, fuck it. But this one though, I'll try this in the almond milk or oat milk, because it might be better in there, but I tried it with water and it was just gross, like, no. But yeah, would recommend this one. Okay. AI policy. Yeah, so yeah, Biden was giving different executive orders, and yeah, about testing and safety. So yeah, let's see what they have to say. President Biden has taken some steps to create a concrete AI policy in the United States. However, while there's plenty to argue about in terms of how effective the administration moves have been, experts, the Register, spoke to experts the Register spoke to agree that there are likely to be more big changes once Donald Trump begins his second term. And I do wonder how involved Elon Musk will be in like advising on this too, considering that I'm sure he has a say in it. Although he did support California's AI safety bill, but that Newsom vetoed. So for starters, Biden's 2023 executive order on AI to be scrapped, possibly as soon as Trump takes office. Joel Meyer, Domino Labs public sector president and former Homeland Security Strategic Initiative's Deputy Assistant. Is this a joke, bro? Okay. Domino Labs public sector president and former Homeland Security Strategic Initiative's Deputy Assistant Secretary. Bro, this is a joke. Homeland Security Strategic Initiative's Deputy Assistant Secretary. Holy shit, bro. What job title is this? Told the Register. Jeez. Trump and members of his team have said publicly that they intend to repeal the AI executive order. I don't see any reason why they would have changed their mind. I think for the most part, in almost every area, the order of the day will be changed. Yeah. One element of Biden's AI executive order that might hang around, Meyer predicted, is the AI Safety Institute housed within NIST. That was established as part of the action. While Meyer warns that any Biden executive actions could be fair game for the Trump administration to scrap, and any political point scoring, such established offices are unlikely to vanish entirely. Yeah, maybe we'll have a lighter touch, but it will continue in some form, Meyer opined. Frankly, a lot of industry thinks it's a good thing. Yeah, this is interesting because NIST, I think, is like the standards. So this is I think is a good spot for the AI stuff, because if we could set basic like standards, like here are the goals, like at least if we have this, it's something to go off of versus free for all. Yeah, here it is. To build U.S. capacity to evaluate and mitigate risks of AI systems, ensure safety, security, trust, while promoting innovative, competitive AI systems. Yeah, workers protect consumers. That supports workers and protects consumers. Yep. Oh, the AI Innovation Lab, responsible for a variety of NIST artificial intelligence efforts and headquartered within the agency's Information Technology Laboratory. Interesting. As for the National Security Memorandum, let's see what this one is. Memorandum on Advancing United States Leadership. Yeah. That's been one of the other recent hallmarks of Biden's AI policy. Meyer believes that that's likely to hang around too, as it includes many things that have bipartisan consensus. Yeah, that's interesting then. Holy. Oh, this is like the entire cabinet. Yeah, this is a long one though. Let's give this a try. United States must lead the world. Responsible application, potential to offer great benefits, but poses significant risks if misused. Urgently consider how the current AI paradigm can transform national security mission, develop necessary resources, establish national security leadership in AI. This memorandum is to fulfill the directive set forth in the executive order that we're talking about. So interesting. So I wonder, that's interesting that this is bipartisan. I think it's a very strong document, and there's much greater prospect that next administration will continue more of the parts and the national security memorandum than the executive order. Meyer said that's an indication of more of a bipartisan consensus on the national security aspects of AI, such as energy, chip production, and export controls. Yeah, that's interesting. But yeah, interesting. Energy, chip production, export controls. Yeah, the chip production though is that's actually, I might cover that this week, because that's been a lot of contention. There's been a lot of drama around that because the CHIPS Act that Biden passed, it seems like that Trump might not continue that, and so the money might not get distributed, and so they're trying to rush to get the money out for the CHIPS Act, and Intel, which is the largest beneficiary of the CHIPS Act, is not getting as much money as they promised, and that's not that good right now considering they're not doing the best business wise. So yeah, that's interesting. And the export stuff is a bit of a wild card, I feel like, with Trump. I think they'll keep what Biden has in terms of like chips and stuff, and may even ramp it up. But I do wonder if we'll go too far in the sense that Trump just wants to bring everything to the United States, but I think the export controls might be a little too much for what he wants to do might be a little too much and hurt us more than it will help us here. So yeah, I'm interested to see how AI or like what policies they'll create around the export controls, mainly to China. The industry's role likely to grow. Republicans tend to favor a more hands-off approach to regulation that lets markets sort things out. Yep, and that's exactly what Ina Tarkarev-Sela, former SAP director of machine learning and founder of Illuminix AI, believe will happen. Yeah, and I think that's just in general, that's kind of Trump's, the theme is deregulation or no regulation. But I do still think that there will be some for AI. But I've maybe though now I'm thinking about like it's something dumb like our policy is no policy, like do whatever you want or something like, I don't know. What I see in the markets is enterprises like big banks, financial service companies are all introducing their own AI standards. I think it might be that the Trump administration is going to follow what happens in the market from regulated industries and not the other way around. That's that's interesting. Like I think involving the companies is to some point is like okay a little bit, but they're just going to push for like their incentives just are not aligned with the everyday person or necessarily even the country. So that's an interesting way to go about it. I mean, like they're gonna form them around, like safe harboring their company's IP, not having employees share stuff that they shouldn't. I feel like that's kind of more so like what the more like corporate policy is versus like don't have it, create bombs, I don't, like weapons or something like, crazy. I feel like that's kind of more so the government than that like federal level should be. I don't know. Let's continue reading here. Tokarov-Sela said that the EU has taken the opposite approach with its block-wide AI Act passed earlier this year, something she doesn't believe would ever pass muster in the US. In some Asian countries, on the other hand, the industry has moved way ahead of regulation. She predicted the US would likely settle into a middle-of-the-road approach that waits to see what the industry does before taking regulatory steps to submit certain standards. That's interesting. That's like the ask for forgiveness, not permission. Like, okay, like we'll make standards until something bad happens. But that honestly actually seems like how it's kind of a lot of regulations are created nowadays too. So it's like, there's no attention to it unless something bad starts to happen. But I don't know, actually, because that's like, I'm thinking about like crypto right now, and there's like, there's still crypto scams left and right. And like, Trump crypto policy is a different story, but even under the Biden administration, there hasn't really been like much crypto policy. The SEC released some things, but not enough. So yeah, I don't know. It's interesting. I just don't trust the Trump administration to like be proactive or like see bad things happening and then pass things as a result of it. I just don't see that happening. Yeah. And I mean, think of self-driving cars. Like Elon, like Tesla has an accident, like, you know, every month, like a fatal accident, like every month now, it seems like. And I mean, California's taken some steps, but I just don't really see much other federal self-driving policy. So I don't know. Unlike Meyer, however, Sella doesn't believe the Biden administration has moved with enough urgency to regulate AI. She believes that the Biden's executive order and the national security memorandum were largely ineffective. I mean, agreed, but like, I feel like that was just for show, really. It was like a stepping stone, but it was just the first one, which is more so for show, I guess. Because I mean, they haven't passed any like budgets or anything to like or like dedicated budgets to kind of for an agency to regulate this, and I feel like that's kind of the big, you know, no one wants to know. No, every government organization's already kind of topped out in terms of like what they need to do or underfunded, and so like no one wants to take on something that they don't have the money to do. So yeah, the end result of measures like those, which tend to target the largest AI models and biggest players in the industry, has meant smaller businesses have left to fend for themselves in a market that gives them little room to breathe while sandwiched between the likes of OpenAI, Microsoft, and Google. Yeah, but I don't really know if I believe that anymore, because now that we're kind of plateauing in terms of models, there's very like tight competition. Like everyone is kind of in line, and like, you know, every month now it's like one person's beating the other. And even smaller guys like Mistral, who I covered last week, and DeepSeek, who I also covered last week. Although DeepSeek's like a Chinese one, they're a little bit different. But you know, everyone is having breakthroughs like, you know, every week, month here, and so I don't think the competition, or I don't think, you know, like the big guys are like necessarily in the lead right now, or it's gonna stay that way. I think that it's gonna be a little wavy here for the next year, but I think smaller startups have the opportunity now to kind of catch up. Sala believes the Trump administration is likely to be good for smaller companies and the AI industry as a whole, with the likelihood that the incoming president favors a framework that hands more responsibility back to the industry. I don't see regulation and innovation compromising with each other. I think this will actually be a responsible way to deal with this technology. Yeah, I think for now it's like fine, but I just think there should still be kind of like wide bumpers put in place just in case. Yeah. Especially after watching like the Dune show and like how their opinions are on like the thinking machines, it's like, fuck, like you know, like I don't know. Don't want them to take over. Meyer expressed some trepidation over whether having the federal government not take the lead on AI policy will be a good thing, but he believes the industry knows what sort of risks he needs to avoid. Yeah, I mean, I guess they kind of understand, but I don't know. The frontier LLM companies have really good understanding of what those risks are, Meyer explained, but I think there's a real... Yeah, but like this is slowly going downhill though as we continue, as you know, money comes flowing in. This is slowly becoming like less and less of a thing. Like they're, you know, and we've covered on stream previously how like they kind of take all these things out of their you know, terms of use and all kinds of stuff like that. Like I don't know, you're saying like you're saying earlier, regulations are reactive. Some bad actors will need to use AI for something fucked up before any meaningful regs happen. Yeah, I guess like the fact that it's on everyone's front of mind that like something bad is going to happen, like it's not like an if but a when kind of thing. It's like just pass some bumpers, some wide bumpers, and then, you know, when the bad thing happens, then narrow it in on the bad thing. You know, I guess it doesn't hurt to just be like, have like some blanket statement where it's just like, oh yeah, if you do this, you're bad, just so you could kind of like finger point if something does bad happen, be like, see, like, you can't do this, we have this thing. Yeah, I don't know. And I do think that, and this might be an interesting like look too, where this is all federal, this is all, like the national level. I do wonder what other states, like, I mean, California obviously, but like I wonder what some of the more like tech oriented states like Washington, New York, maybe even like, I'll say Texas, but I feel like there's not really many tech startups in Texas, like Austin maybe, but I guess like California, Washington, New York, I do wonder what they will see as needed policy kind of before the federal level takes a stab at it. I mean, we have California, but I'm kind of thinking about the other states, so yeah, it's interesting. Yeah, Meyer cited Anthropic as focusing more on addressing risk, while other developers are pushing more on feature and technology development, he noted. Yeah, and Anthropic has been in like I mean, yeah, I agree with this, but I do think that Anthropic is still falling into the other traps where they're working with Palantir, on like, with the Department of Defense and such, and like they are just like the others kind of threw that a bit out the door once they kind of saw how much money you could make, or the money involved. So I mean, yeah, when you don't have the government pushing industry excuse me, there becomes more variance and you see more differentiation, Meyer added, and I think there is certainly risk there. And of course, the federal government abdication of AI leadership doesn't mean that the regulatory back and forth ends. I think we're going to see a lot of activity at the state level, Meyer predicted. California, which Meyer noted is the home of all the major frontier AI leaders, has tried to make its own regulation, not all of which worked out, and he expects more of the same. Yeah, Governor Newsom has said he's going to take a bunch of executive actions to protect against against the Trump administration in California, Meyer told us. I think you might see that start to extend into AI policy as AI gets more powerful, and if the federal government continues to take a lighter touch. Yeah, and we're going to dive into this afterwards. We'll look at look at this here. Trump will lack excuses for inaction. Yeah, that's all. This is also a trend now. I mean, like Trump. I mean, dude, it's you gotta pull through now. Joanna's Himmelreich. Man, if there's been one thing about reading articles like this, it's always the names. Like, I've just seen such a variety. Like, what is up with like professional, or like experts and having hard names to pronounce? It's almost like a meme. Like, that has to be a Key and Peele sketch. Assistant professor of ethics and public policy at Syracuse University told us that while there's technically a federal level AI policy in the form of 2020 National Artificial Intelligence Act, I don't even know about this, the lack of any actual federal regulation is embarrassing oversight. Bro, why is it so small? Bro, why is it so small? Come on, you have the whole page? This is a House resolution, though. This was passed in the House. Department of Energy. What? So so this is what I was talking about, though, actually. So it looks like there might be funding for something for AI. I don't see, I mean, $1 billion. Vision National Artificial Intelligence. Bros, dude, this thing could be one page. This thing could be like a few pages, but they had to make it 25 pages long like this. Interesting. Okay. The 2020 AI Initiatives Act passed during the first Trump administration, mind you, didn't create any real... Oh, this was passed during Trump's first administration. Whoa, what the heck? Didn't create any real policies surrounding AI. Instead, it laid the structures necessary to stand up to things like the White House National AI Initiative Office shortly before the end of Trump's term. Interesting. Himmelreich did place some blame on the Biden administration for the likely rollback of the only meaningful AI rules in the US, the 2023 executive order. Because of the politicized nature of the document, he noted that the exclusion of equity requirements in the AI executive order in direct reference to earlier executive action on racial equity as putting a giant target on the policy's back. Yeah, because this is the right now could just say this is like, you know, left woke propaganda, and like, you know, and then of course like everyone will like support canceling it. That's interesting, but like realistically, that's important, especially for consumers. That's mainly the like problem, I guess, is like, yeah, I mean, AI is just gonna be racist. Like, and that'd suck if you know, you're using it and it's like I don't know, racist AI. What if it's what's it called when they're like speciest? It's like AI is its own species. If they had strictly stuck to technocratic policy and formulated this as a matter of bureaucratic procedure, avoiding terms to which Republican administration is allergic, maybe that executive order could have stood a chance. Yep, exactly. They're allergic. That's so funny. Yeah, and I actually read this morning more about how they're throwing out any sort of like DEI measures for like colleges and stuff. So yeah, it's gonna suck. Of course, that doesn't mean executive action isn't called for. Himmelreich noted that the lack of legislation policy in the Biden years wasn't a deliberate choice. It was a result of failure on the part of lawmakers to reach a compromise. Yeah, no, fair, very true. Executive action, whether from the president or from the heads of agencies, picks up the slack that Congress leaves. With Republicans' control of the House, Senate, and the White House and judicial branch, important to note, however, that excuse is gone. Yeah. Yep. The industry will surely have draft legislation ready to suggest to their favorite senators. We might actually have the capability to act with the unified government. So any inaction under Trump would be a deliberate decision. That's actually very interesting, and that's a good point outside of the AI policy. You know, like there isn't really like going on more to there's no excuses. Like Trump has all three branches of the like government to be able to pass legislation, maybe bar the Senate because you do need 60 votes for some. But that's interesting, yeah. Any inaction is actually a deliberate choice now because he could essentially do whatever he wants. It's interesting. What will Trumpian AI regulation look like? One thing for certain, Meyer said, it doesn't matter who is in office or who controls Congress. The AI hype train is rapidly becoming an unstoppable force. I do suspect that under Trump administration, there may be a more of a go fast approach, but broader adoption and use of AI is going to happen no matter what. Yeah, agreed. With adoption growing rapidly, especially inside the federal government, policy will be needed, and it's likely coming through, whether superheaded by industry or adopted after a wait-and-see period is still certain. Himmelreich told us he suspects any adoption we see during the next 4 years will focus on clarifying liability, likely in a very industry-friendly way. And he doubts strong consumer protections will be adopted along those rules. Yeah, that sucks. What's going on outside? He suspects any adoption we see during the next 4 years will focus on clarifying liability. Interesting. I wonder what an industry-friendly liability looks like. To me, it just seems like it's on the consumer. But I do wonder if there's potentially any play with Section 203 or whatever for social media sites, how they kind of don't take liability for things people say on the website. I wonder if there's similar, if there's an overlap, or if this falls into that Section 203. Because if that's the case, then, you know, the Trump's FCC chair Brendan Carr wants to get rid of that, wants to repeal it or whatever. And I do wonder how that would play with like AI websites, because to me it seems like if then the people are trying to get bad things out of the AI, that then would fall on the company to stop that, like jailbreaking AI, which is definitely a thing. I wonder if that plays in. At the end of the day, however, he believes some law is better than no law, especially when it comes to something as world-changing as AI. Yeah, agreed. Having any sort of law can remove some uncertainty with with legal uncertainty, everyone loses. An incomplete law that's industry-friendly will result in winners and losers, and I don't have faith will protect the losers, but at least it's better than doing nothing. Yeah, take these and any other predictions surrounding Trump 2.0 with a healthy heap of salt. If this administration will be anything, it will be unpredictable. Yeah. And I do wonder, now that AI agents are kind of becoming kind of the next thing, and I think next year is going to be the year of the AI agents, potentially you could have a single person, which this is already the case, like orchestrating hundreds, if not thousands of different AI agents that are tasked with doing things on the internet. I think that is going to become a problem, and it's going to start bogging things down a bit, or it's going to cost a lot of money and like bandwidth and such for all of this use, because you can now essentially imagine if people now more people, just like you have a smartphone or whatever, you could create AI agents that go and do stuff for you. Like if every person has 10 AI agents like that, like the scaling on that's going to be insane on for the internet and infrastructure. And I feel and especially once you start giving them money, imagine if you give your AI agent, you're all right, you have a budget of $100 or something, and they start that shit is going to be insane. There's going to have to be rules around that. But I think it's gonna kind of they're saying here, it's gonna fall into the liability of the corporation, and they're gonna add terms and conditions about AI agents and such and things like that. But yeah, I think that might be a different catalyst as well. Yeah, that'll be interesting. Because I'm very bullish on AI agents. I think that's gonna be a lot of the near-term future of AI until we kind of get this the artificial general intelligence figured out, if it's even possible. And I think tomorrow I'm on a shorter stream, probably about only an hour or so, and I might actually just play around with some AI agents tomorrow, going over the news. Yeah, now we're kind of into this here, because like they mentioned, California, giving them money may not even be a catalyst. Yeah, no, I just think giving them money will it might result in some funny, funky stuff happening. Oh, sorry, I didn't even see her. I would assume that intelligent AI would be able to gain access to banking payment systems pretty easily. Oh, I see. Yeah, I guess I'm talking about more so giving them access to all of your accounts that you could log in, and Amazon, you're hey, I need this, and then it might just go and order it for you on Amazon, you give it your credit card essentially. But yeah, AGI, I feel I do wonder if AGI is an encryption, if they could break encryption, if that would be something they could maybe figure out. But yeah, that's interesting. Also, something that I only recently learned, I really like the markup. They're like a nonprofit. It was started by doesn't really say, but it started by Julia Angwin. I don't see her on here anymore, but she's a big privacy advocate, and she started the Markup as a nonprofit to report on big tech. Like, I think their old slogan used to be like, we big tech watches you, we watch big tech, kind of thing. And they're great. And I just learned recently that they're now a part of Cal Matters, which is a kind of a large California nonpartisan news platform. So it's cool because I like both of these websites. Which I'm curious how nonprofit like mergers work. I don't know. It's interesting. Let me actually. I'm getting the hell out. Let me turn on the heat, off the heat, real quick before I start. BRB. All right. Trump wants even looser AI guardrails. Why California, despite passing over 20 AI bills this year, might not push back. California Governor Gavin Newsom is preparing to wage a legal war against President-elect Donald Trump, convening a special legislative session next month to try and, quote, Trump-proof the state. But it appears that artificial intelligence safeguards won't initially be in the fight, even though California's legislature had passed a major focus on AI regulation this year. I do wonder, like, I am kind of starting to, like, the waters seem really muddy between federal law and state law, like which one trumps what, like, no pun intended, but it fits really well. And yeah, I guess it's kind of, I'm honestly kind of getting confused on like yeah, just on like kind of like who has the authority and doesn't. Like, it seems like Republicans really like pushing things back to the state, leave it to the state to decide, which is interesting. And, you know, as California, you know, you're politically aligned with California, then you know, it's great because like California has very strong like defense mechanisms like we kind of have now, and it's interesting because I read something where, like, essentially every administration, the opposite party always ends up suing the federal, the states always end up suing like the federal government, the administration. Like, Republicans have sued Biden about, you know, over various things, like, you know, 100 or so times. And when Trump was in, blue states have sued Trump about the same time, and they honestly like win almost about the same, with Democrats easing out a bit more in terms of like a win percentage, better, higher KD. But it's interesting because I like things like this, like if we just pass all this stuff to like Trump proof the state, like what's even the point of like Trump, like what's even the point of the president, like in terms of like the laws they pass that are then like go down to the state. I don't know. I need to like read up on that to understand more like what I don't know who has precedent. Because if like Trump wants to just like undeclare a bunch of land in California, like not federal or like, you know, good for oil drilling, like, but then he's like, but then they want the states to have control over some things. Like, it just seems weird sometimes. Like, I mean, I guess it's contradictory, but it's just politics, I guess. They just want to use it to whatever will help them the most. I don't know. Anyways, Trump has promised to immediately rescind Joe Biden's executive order that had imposed voluntary AI guardrails on tech companies and federal agencies. The president-elect's administration could also Could also, immigrant advocates say, use AI tools to assist the mass deportation he has pledged to implement. I mean, that would be insane if he used like AI tools to like assist in that. Like, that's crazy. But I mean, I guess like they would probably use things like Palantir, uh, like which we looked at before, because they have. I swear they have. Yeah, because Palantir already has existing contracts with military, Department of Defense, local police officers, local governments, and they have AI. I feel like this is how they would use AI essentially, where like they already have existing contracts, and then those contracts are like, hey, we have this new AI feature, and then they're like, oh, cool, and then they kind of just roll with that. But like this is exactly the kind of like Palantir is like probably the company, if anything, that they're gonna use to help with deportation stuff like this. They probably wouldn't advertise this stuff out in the open like this, but yeah. Anyways, earlier this year, California legislators passed more than a dozen bills regulating artificial intelligence, curbing the use of algorithms on children, limiting the use of deepfakes, and more. But Governor Newsom vetoed the most ambitious and contentious bill that would have required testing of AI models to determine whether they would likely lead to mass death, endanger public infrastructure, or enable severe cyber attacks. Yeah, the severe cyber attacks is cyber attacks in general with AI, especially agent stuff, like you could train an AI agent on like misinformation, give it access to, social media accounts, and then just be like, post 100, posts a day, like on this thing, and just make it up. And you could scale that like infinitely with essentially copy and paste, like actually literally just copy and paste. But like, you could have that be for like brute forcing, things like that, because you could train it just like to act like a human. It'd be hard to tell. Like I feel like the CAPTCHA stuff is like CAPTCHAs are like they're kind of like nothing now. Like like that was for like, bots, programmed bots to do fixed things, but like now we could have like, they could reason, so we could like that's nothing. There are signs though that AI could, in the not so distant future, have you heard of people going crazy text? Have you heard of people? Oh yeah, I did see that in like it was like a college or something. Oh true, yeah, no, I agree. Yeah. Like that shit. Yeah, that's crazy. Yeah, I think there's a lot of like creative ways to kind of do shit like that, which is crazy. I think though AI also makes it easier to do stuff like that. You could type it in. Like I've been messing around with AI coding tools and stuff too, and like like you could have it like program stuff, which is kind of like to do things like that too, which is interesting. Like I wonder if I have it still. This right here, this RSS feed generator, I didn't write a single. All I did was explain what to make, and it made this for me where I could follow sites, and it literally creates this it like works half the time, but I guess just to the point, like it just made this for me. It doesn't work that good, but yeah, you get the point. You don't like you like anyone could just make stuff like this with just typing things in. Yeah, so I guess like that's kind of like this stuff too. Yeah, it's interesting. No, I don't know. I guess nothing's happened yet that's been like headline news, but I don't know. Crazy times. There are signs though that AI could, in the not so distant future, go above abstract concern to prominent political cudgel between the Trump administration and California's Democratic leaders. It could be another high-profile way to challenge Trump and his newfound tech allies, some of whom have gleefully proclaimed a new deregulated era for artificial intelligence products. Yeah, and California definitely has some leverage considering that most of those companies are headquartered here. But it's also ripe for lobbying and such. In California, just last quarter alone, I actually read it on Cal Matters here, like $168 million just in this last quarter was used for yeah, right here. This is what this past summer, breaking $168 million in lobbying, which is crazy. Most of which are by big tech companies. So I mean, like, that's, I don't know. If you have money, it seems like you can kind of just do whatever you want in politics. Let's be real. Just run ads, just like the rent, you know, all the California propositions. I mean, like, you'd think that people wouldn't want their, would want rent control, but I don't know. I guess people care too much about their property value, don't really care about helping someone out. Early this year, California legislators passed more than a dozen bills regulating artificial intelligence, curbing the use of algorithms on children. Wait, did I read this already? Yeah, I did. It could be another high-profile way. Yeah, I think Newsom and the California legislature have an opportunity to step into the gap that the federal government is leaving to create a model environment for safe and rights-respecting technology and deployment, said Janet Haven, executive director of Datan's Society Research Institute, a nonprofit that studies the social implications of AI and other technologies. On the other hand, no way to get around the fact that big tech is right there and will be a huge factor in whatever the California legislature and Newsom want to advance in terms of AI regulation. Yeah, I mean, just lobbying. California lawmakers and others worry about AI. I'm curious to see for this. Interesting they covered this too. I need to start reading the markup more. It's really right up my alley. Oh god, back. AI safety advocates told Cal Matters they're not necessarily sweating the apocalyptic AI nightmares imagined by some doomsayers. Instead, they're focused on how AI tools have increasingly used in healthcare, housing, and the labor force, law enforcement, integration, the military, as well as other industries where fields prone to discrimination, surveillance, and civil rights violations, because there's evidence that such tools can be unwieldy, inaccurate, and invasive. Yeah. They linked. Yeah. And this is exactly what I say when, like, you don't know who they consider to be the enemy, a criminal. It's like other states, like the cops may see a different threat than what kind of everyone else does, and when they have access to private things like this, it could be used as a weapon. It could be used against you. We have documentation that shows how these AI systems are likely to do all sorts of things. They're pattern-making systems. They're not really decision makers, but the private sector and the public sector are using them as a substitute for decision makers, said Samantha Gordon, Chief Program Officer at Tech Equity. That's not wise. I do wonder if when we use AI and like generative AI specifically in like public sectors and such, I feel like there should be something unlocked that says its certainty for what it output as the prediction or what comes next. It's like when you type in a question or whatever, all it's doing is just predicting what should come next, like, based off of the previous text. And I think if maybe we say, like, maybe if like give a percentage of like we're 62% certain that this is like what should come next or whatever, that might give some more clarity as to like how certain it was about like its decision it made. Because if there's 62%, then there's like, I don't know, a lot of room for them to be error, where if it's, I don't know, 80%, it's a lot better. I do wonder what that is. There's actually another safety institute. There's like another AI safety organization, and they created a tool prediction AI. Yeah, this is it. Center for AI Safety, safe.ai. They created a tool that shows it's closed down now, unfortunately, but they created a tool that essentially showed that percentage there for what they're predicting, and it was kind of interesting, just having that there to see how like how confident it was and what the AI predicted to come next. I think things like that would help give more like background and context to what they're spitting out, especially with like military usage and things. Like you need like a risk tolerance there. Santa Ana Democrat Senator Tom Umberg told Cal Matters that 2024 was a bit of a testing year for AI bills. California lawmakers outlawed sexually explicit deepfakes and certain election-related deepfake content, required tech companies to provide free AI detection tools, and stipulated that tech companies must publicly release data about their AI training tools. Yeah, that's interesting. Governor Newsom ultimately signed roughly 20 AI bills into law, but he also controversially vetoed a major bill by San Francisco Democratic Senator Scott Wiener. I'm so sorry, bro. That would have instituted significant testing requirements on AI tools to make sure they avoid catastrophic outcomes. In his veto message, Newsom wrote that the bill risks curtailing innovation, but he added that he wanted to find the appropriate path forward, including legislation and regulation. Interesting. So I do think that if you essentially have these tests to pass, it's going to become a game of... just going to become a game to test, to like game it to pass the test versus it like being more comprehensive, in that I don't know what that would actually even solve realistically, now that I'm thinking about it more. Like and then if there's like some third party that has to do it, that's just gonna be even slower. It's gonna be a huge line. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know about that. That's interesting. Like, I wonder what the right balance is, though. Wiener told Cal Matters he's working on updated legislation that could garner broad support. Such a bill would presumably include additional buy-in from the tech sector, which the state is relying on for tax revenue, and which has a notable lobbying presence in Sacramento. Google just racked up the largest quarterly lobbying tab in a decade. Yep. I wonder what the tax revenue. Maybe they're just saying that the tech sector just brings in a lot of tax revenue, and so they're kind of they don't want to poke them too hard to leave the state, which is arguably happening a little bit. Asked whether to expect more big tech lobbying against regulatory efforts in California, Palo Alto Democratic Assembly member Mark Berman said, "It's going to be a good time to be a lobbyist. They're going to do very well." That's crazy. That's crazy. Though Wiener's AI testing bill was batted down, as were a few other noteworthy AI bills that didn't make it out of the legislature, California is far and away the center of AI regulation in the U.S., said Ashok Ayar, a Stanford research fellow who co-wrote the comparative analysis of Wiener's bill against the European Union's more comprehensive AI efforts. Jeez, like slurring my words. Lack of federal regulation and legislation. California is leading on AI in large part because the competition is basically non-existent. Congress hasn't passed a meaningful AI legislation. Asked about Trump in the incoming Republican majority, San Ramon Democratic Assembly member Rebecca Bauer Cahan said there isn't much regulation to deregulate, to be honest. Yeah, true. Sans federal legislation, President Biden, sans federal legislation, that's an interesting use of that word. President Biden issued an executive order in October 23 intending to place guardrails around the use of AI. just kind of read about. The order built on 5 policy principles on the design, use, deployment of automated systems to protect the American public. Biden directed federal agencies to develop plans for how they would advance innovation in the government use of AI, but also protect against known harms and rights violations, said Haven. All right. Soon after Biden's executive order, his administration created the U.S. AI Safety Institute, which is housed within the Commerce Department. Yes, and this is we'll cover this next because this is the Trump's pick for the Commerce Department. And it's interesting that it's housed within the Commerce Department because I don't really even know what the Commerce Department's role is. We'll look at that after this, though, before we read about it. Biden's executive order relies on tech companies, many of which are based in California, to voluntarily embrace the administration's suggestions. Yeah, voluntarily. I mean, that, but like, that's every law. It's just like, it's not like you have a choice. Like, you're voluntold, but like, I don't know. It unless they're saying that like you could opt in or out, like you do have a choice. But it also relies on agencies like the Department of Homeland Security, which includes immigration and customs enforcement and customs and border protection, a lot of ands, to be transparent and honest about how they're using AI technology and not violate people's rights. Yeah, I mean, that's kind of just like, yeah, I don't know, it's whatever. I think we did talk about this on stream maybe last week or yeah, interesting. Like most executive orders, Biden's AI edict is loosely enforceable and fairly easy to reverse. Trump has already promised to repeal Biden's executive order on day 1 of his term. I mean, like, realistically though, like, what has Biden said? Like, what's Biden's executive order? Like, what's like the bad thing about it? Like, I feel like it's not really stopping any or slowing anything down right now. I feel like both parties have kind of done a bit of like tit for tat, and like they just don't like something just because the other party doesn't like it. That's getting, I think it's getting a little old. But I'm not even saying Republicans. I think Democrats do the same thing. I mean, that's the Democrats' essentially his entire platform right now is just like hating on Republicans and like how bad Trump is. And I don't know how far that will get us. And same for Republicans, just undoing everything the Democrats do. Like I don't know how far that like will get us. Especially in these 4 years now that Trump has access to so much more he could essentially pass whatever he wants. I think that like we're going to be set back a lot these 4 years in terms of government like support and help for the like everyday citizen, and then it's going to kind of like just be a clawback game for the Democrats afterwards to try and just get anything back. But maybe it's good. Maybe it's like a nice fresh start, you know, for the Democrats who kind of want some more regulation here. Like he'll take it all away, then we could kind of come in and give him some more updated stuff. The 2024 Republican platform argues that the executive order hinders AI innovation and imposes radical left-wing ideas on the development of this technology. I mean, and there it is. You know, it's like we kind of talked about that earlier. It's like the fact that there's, you know, racial things talked about in the executive order. It's kind of like they just hate it now. It's like, okay. Homeland Security and other executive branch agencies may be granted far more flexibility when Trump takes office, though advocates say the bar was already low. A June 2024 report from the nonprofit Magenti, titled Automating Deportation, argues that the department hasn't followed through on the Biden administration's already relatively meager requests. Dang. Artificial intelligence behind the Department of Homeland Security's immigration enforcement regime. Dang. And I'm sure that, like, you know, in terms of immigration, like coming into the United States, I'm sure that there could be good use for using AI to speed up the application process and things like that. But there's equal like risk in that they are biased, in that they you know don't do the right thing. Yeah, I don't know. It goes both ways. This is June 2024. Interesting. Argues that the department hasn't followed through on Biden administration already relative meager request. After Trump clinched the 2024 presidential election, segments of the tech industry were jubilant about what they foresee for the AI industry, including an imminent uptick in government contracts. Yeah, which we kind of talked about on stream a bit before. Department of Defense holds most AI funding right now. It's weird. Stick a fork in it. It's over. Mark Andreessen, the billionaire general partner, venture capital firm Andreessen Horowitz, wrote on X, the U.S. will be the preeminent AI superpower in the world after all. Yeah, I mean, this is so loaded. Like, Mark Andreessen, this fucking guy, he's like an effective accelerationist kind of dude. Like, he wants zero regulation just in tech in general, just to go wild. You know, he's kind of the Peter Thiel group. He wants corporations to run the artificial, like, you know, the super intelligent thing, and, you know, in the robots. And yeah, I don't know, I put him up there like with Peter Thiel, Elon Musk. Like, he's just another fucking crazy tech billionaire who just wants like a capitalism. He just wants the typical like true free market type of capitalism. I don't know. Fully unleash federal agencies. If mass deportations of undocumented immigrants come to pass, as Trump has promised, that would require a wide variety of technologies, including AI tools. Wait. I don't know if it would require AI tools. Like, that's I don't know about that. Homeland Security already employs an AI system called the Repository for Analytics in a Virtualized Environment, or RAVEN. That's interesting. I've never heard of that. Or a 9-figure government contract. Dang. Wonder who has it. The department also has access to an extensive biometric database and monitors certain undocumented immigrants outside of detention centers by a surveillance tool that utilizes AI algorithms to try and determine whether an immigrant is likely to be abscond. Yeah, this is exactly what I'm talking about. Like, this is crazy, because I don't, like, we can't even trust what, like, the facts that they say, but you're trusting them to do stuff like this. Yeah, because I think Palantir, we covered last week on the stream, it was speaking with the department, or the Ministry of Justice in the UK, about like using AI to determine like parole and things like that. And like that's just like like you're just asking for a mess, you know, like, especially as a person, like, an AI decides your fate. Like, you can't, like, how do you argue? Like, I don't know, that's kind of where it gets into muddy waters. We know from Trump's first administration that there are going to be fewer guardrails with the use of this tech. The agents will feel even more emboldened, said Zejal Zoda, a co-founder and legal director of Just Futures Law, a legal advocacy group focused on immigration, criminal justice, and surveillance issues. That's one area where we're going to see an increased AI use to support this mass deportation agenda. To the best of Zoda's knowledge, there's little California lawmakers or courts could do to prevent federal agencies from using AI tech against vulnerable populations, including undocumented immigrants. Is it an issue? Absolutely, it's an issue, said Senator Umberg. What can we do about it? What can we do about federal agencies using artificial intelligence? We can't do much. Yeah. What if Congress acts? Another potential threat to California's AI regulations is if the majority Republican Congress pass looser AI rules of its own, preempting state law. Okay, so this is what I was talking about earlier, because I don't, it seems like it's whichever one is like stricter is like becomes the one that you have to follow. Yeah, that's interesting. California lawmakers, including Assemblymember Bauer Kahan and Senator Umberg, said they don't think significant AI legislation will make it to President Trump for his signature. Interesting. That's a big claim. I guess it's just hard to even predict. Congressional gridlock is one reason Senator Weiner said he's pursuing AI regulation in the California legislature in the first place. I was very clear that if the issue were being handled statutorily at the federal level, I'd be happy to close up shop and go home, he said, but it isn't happening, and it's certainly not going to happen under Trump. Not everyone believes Congress will remain stagnant on this issue, however, particularly with one party now dominant in Washington. I would underestimate the creativity of this incoming administration, said Paramita Shah, executive director of Just Futures Law. I think it's possible that the Republican trifecta will see in attempting to pass very weak data privacy law at the federal level that preempts state law. Then it's a game of whack-a-mole between the state legislature and federal legislature. Yeah, especially for California, considering we have the California Consumer Privacy Act, which is great. All right, see you tomorrow, man. Thanks for tuning in. Yeah, so that's interesting that, and it's like we're going back in time, like weak data privacy law, like that's crazy. Just sit here. California's next steps. Newsom has to date signed many AI bills, but turned back others. He says go too far in risking inhibiting an industry he has sought to cultivate a government partner. Spokesperson for Newsom did not directly respond to Cal Matters questions for the story, instead providing a statement highlighting the state's role in shaping the future of so-called generative AI, a recent innovative form of the technology behind tools like ChatGPT, DALL-E, and Midjourney. Yeah, and generative AI is like, I think when we refer AI, that's mainly what, at least I'm talking about, and I feel like that's most of what kind of this is mentioning, because that's kind of really the big AI use right now. California has led the nation in protecting against the harms of Gen AI while leveraging its potential benefits, said spokesperson Alex Stack. President-elect Trump's team did not respond to written questions from Cal Matters. Dan Schnurr, a political analyst and professor at UC Berkeley and other campuses, predicted the government will save his political capital for other clashes. That's interesting. And I think I agree too. Newsom's incentive for strengthening his relationship with Silicon Valley is probably stronger than his need for yet one more issue to fight over with Donald Trump. Yeah, agreed. I mean, we get a lot of tax. That's how the state funds a lot of things from taxes. So yeah, we kind of mentioned earlier in the article here too. Lawrence Gassell, a visiting professor at Stanford's Cyber Policy Center, cautioned Newsom against clinging to the deregulatory side of Silicon Valley. There's really a very strong movement that wants to highlight the risk of AI, the safety questions. If I were governor, I wouldn't be insensitive to this movement and the warnings. I wonder who those behind that. Lawmakers are eyeing other avenues to shore up California's redresses against AI technology. Assemblymember Bauer Kahan previously told Cal Matters she plans to reintroduce a stronger version of a bill which failed to advance past the legislature last session to crack down on discriminatory AI practices. Another top AI priority, according to Menlo Park Democratic Senator Josh Becker, is less sexy, but perhaps just as important. Closely monitor the implementation of this year's regulatory framework that we just passed, he wrote. Yeah. I'm like thinking, bro, like I feel like Elon Musk wanted to pass the AI safety regulation to slow down his competition, because like he's not even based in California anymore. Where's XAI based out of? Like bro, they're like moving to Tennessee now. Oh no. XAI moves into OpenAI's old headquarters. That's so funny. All right, theory disproven. California's next AI regulatory steps were always going to be intensely analyzed. That's even more so the case now, with Trump returning to office, a challenge state lawmakers are embracing. One thing that is somewhat as amusing to me is when folks come to me and say, whatever you do in California is going to set the standard for the country, Senator Umberg said. As a policymaker, that's catnip. That's why I ran for office. Cool, that was good. Yeah, that's interesting, though, because, yeah. I mean, I think California is definitely going to take a stronger foot here. And also considering that Newsom, I think, very likely to run for president in 2028. He wants to be in the spotlight more. I think he wants to be ahead of things like this, or be on top of things like this, kind of show that he's really a true Democrat, I guess. And Newsom does hate Republicans, I will say. He does hate that with a passion. Like, I don't know. Yeah, interesting times here. Move to sit mode, and then let's look at the Commerce Secretary. See what the Commerce Secretary has to say, or the incoming Secretary has to say. All right. Now that we just kind of talked about the Center for AI Safety. No, not the Center for AI Safety. God damn, it's like the last one I closed. Okay. The U.S. AI Safety Institute is housed within the Commerce Department, and this is yeah, this is okay. So this is the current Commerce Secretary. I think I mistakenly said she was Trump's pick, but the AI Safety Institute is held within the Commerce Secretary, or the Commerce Department. So let's read and see what it has. And I think though this is relevant for the CHIPS Act too, because I think this is where some of that comes from. Yeah, and we might take a look at this other article regarding that on the Wall Street Journal. What did I actually what's my title? Okay, yeah. All right. Raymondo's urgent mission, leave no cash for Trump. With a massive legacy program hanging in the balance, the Commerce Secretary wants to get billions in microchip money out the door in the next 2 months. Commerce Secretary Gina Raimondo is on an urgent mission, get as much high-tech spending out the door before Trump takes office. Biden administration is aiming to commit nearly every upspent dollar in its $50 billion microchip subsidy program before President-elect Donald Trump takes over in January. Yeah, this was written 5 days ago, but the new things have come out since then, though. Oh, actually, I might take a look at this. Where is it? Yeah, here we go. This was yesterday. Why is Oh, can I not hide their gift subscription thing? Like, come on. Yeah, Biden administration reducing its award to the chip maker, partly to account for multi-billion-dollar military contract. Oh, interesting. Yeah. But I mean, like, Intel is just not doing this all. Oh, look, there's a Raymondo right there. All right, let's take a look at this, then we might jump over that. The administration is aiming to commit nearly every unspent dollar in its $50 billion microchip subsidy program before President-elect Donald Trump takes over in January, an effort that would effectively cement a massive industrial legacy before the GOP can reverse course. I just don't understand why they would want to reverse this, though, because, and I guess maybe answer my own question, though, I feel like generally Republicans like to leave it to the market, but the market's going to go, where cheap labor is, or where they can make it the most efficient, and it's overseas. And the whole point of this is to onshore it, bring it back to the United States. So I don't know why they would want to undo that. I think just the government spending and such, but that goes back to what I was saying, where it's like I feel like sometimes they just want to do everything to contradict the other party. Both sides do, not just Republicans, but to the point where it's like I don't know, this isn't that bad. Like, I don't know. I'd like to have really almost all the money obligated by the time we leave, Raimondo said in an interview. Okay, let's see. Am I saying this? Is their name right? Nope. Okay, never mind. That's the goal, and I certainly want to have all the major announcements done as it relates to the big leading edge companies. The effort to spend her department's full CHIPS Act budget would put a capstone on a signature Biden economic policy. It also speaks to the urgency facing a host of Biden historic raft of spending programs, many of which would be vulnerable to a Republican White House and Congress eager to pare back the most ambitious Democratic spending packages. Yeah, that's why. The CHIPS money alone is a massive undertaking. Congress allocated $50 billion in subsidies for semiconductor manufacturing and R&D. So far, only 2 companies have received binding awards from the Department of Commerce's manufacturing program. To hit her target, Raimondo still needs to nail down contracts with Intel, Micron, Samsung, and SK Hynix, multi-billion-dollar deals that have at times been rocky and required negotiations. Yeah, it's interesting. Samsung is it's interesting, Samsung and SK Hynix, because I mean these are both South Korean companies, but they're both very big in chips. I think Samsung is the largest memory manufacturer and something else. SK Hynix is similar. They make computer components and chips like that. So yeah, it's interesting. Interesting not see Nvidia in here, but I think it's because they don't make their own chips, and that's more so what this is about. Raimondo said she recently directed staff to work through the weekend and even made personal calls to tech CEOs to speed along talks. That's crazy. The forthcoming change in administration is a clear deadline that focuses the mind, Raimondo said, but added she's not overly concerned about budget-conscious Republicans clawing back money from the program next year, despite their threats to do so. Yeah, I do think there is like an interesting, because it takes time and effort to undo things too, and is that really the best time, like use of their time, like to undo a program that's arguably like kind of good, like will help us? Like, I don't know if that's good like rhetoric, and like if that's a fight they want to take. The CHIPS and Science Act passed both chambers of Congress with bipartisan support, and Raimondo said she expects that will withstand Trump's arrival. Then why are they rushing? I guess just in case. The CHIPS program is a key plank of Raimondo's legacy at Commerce, which has morphed from something of a trade promotion agency to one much more focused on national security under her watch. Interesting. Yeah, because you don't really hear about the Department of Commerce much in the news. When Trump's administration takes the reins, Trump's nominated financier Howard Lutnick as a Commerce Secretary Tuesday. It will inherit an agency significantly different from even 4 years ago. In a wide-ranging interview on the Politico Tech podcast, Raimondo took a look at a long view at the shifts of commerce, which under Biden has helped develop a significant chunk of the Washington tech agenda. The department has handled not just microchip spending, but also the evolving rules around the powerful new artificial intelligence models, and organized the Global AI Safety Summit being held Wednesday and Thursday in San Francisco. Now some people call me the sec of tech, she said, which is accurate. I don't know about that. Yeah, here, AI safety, this is what I want to cover. The future of AI safety and the summit that kicks off in San Francisco today. I don't think you can overestimate how significant this is. First of all, AI is the defining technology of our generation and is a huge game changer. And this AI Safety Institute Summit convening that I'm having this week in San Francisco is the first of its kind in the US. It's the third global meeting in the past year, but it's the first one the US is hosting and leading. And we're going to be establishing a US government task force on testing of AI models to manage national security capabilities. We're going to be announcing new goals for the AI Safety Network. Interesting. US government. But mostly what I want to accomplish is getting the world's leading scientists and technical experts together from countries all over the world on behalf of their government. This isn't unlike other technologies, you know, nuclear technology or other technologies where there have been moments in the world's history where new technology comes forward that is so important that we have to get the world together to agree on guardrails and restrictions and standards so that everybody's kept safe. Our interests are aligned even with some of our fiercest competitors like China. I don't know about that. China's sending some of their scientists to this event. It is in no one's interest anywhere on the planet for AI to develop in a way that is unsafe and that is harmful. Yeah. I mean, I agree with that, but I think China, it's not that they don't want that, it's that they're a little too loosey-goosey with the rules, and that's when things kind of get a little crazy and bad things happen. You know, I think that's kind of the, it's not that the China won't like, it's that China won't follow the rules is kind of the part that's I feel like we have to worry about. Whether Trump will stay the course on AI policy, look, I can't predict what the next president will do, and so I'm not going to speculate on who might do that, on who might do what. All right. There's a few finishing the new rules around the Chinese connected vehicles being sold. Yeah. Yeah, it's interesting. All right. I do wonder what the CHIPS Act future will hold. And like companies like Intel though, like they need this CHIPS Act, bro. Intel is not doing too hot. Ooh, doing good today. Shit. Look at Max. Crazy. Dang, they peaked so hard in the 2000s. Wow, they peaked so hard. It's literally, wow. It's been a slow crawl, then like the COVID, and then downhill from there. I mean, they're kind of coming back a bit, but yeah, they have a long road ahead. All right, I had a story on Meta, which we covered how like, you know, AI companies are being used in defense now. In Meta's advertisers giving worthless advice on airstrikes. Okay, it's just kind of funny. It's just too early. Too early for it to be useful for that stuff. All right, let's take a look at this and we'll wrap up here a little early. AI's future and NVIDIA's fortune ride on the pace to pack more chips into one place. Yeah, and this is also going to be a trend of next year. I think with how many, with all the data centers that are going to need to be built and are being built to keep up with all the tech or all the AI innovations, I think there's going to be interesting challenges in terms of what new AI or chip technology we're going to be kind of creating, and how we could have large like clusters of compute and manage to power them in an efficient way. But I think the power is really the big stopping point right now. You know, a single state could only hold so many data centers based off the existing power grid. And I mean, if these tech companies, I do wonder how much they could help with upgrading existing infrastructure. For electricity, like the grid. Because I think, though, what could happen is that they don't really care about the outside power grid, and they could kind of house everything within their own little circuit. And I say little, but like, you know, have large amounts of power that they generate only for the data center, essentially. And there's not really much benefit outside of that to like the rest of the power grid in a way. Or we could just have the chips be more efficient, and you could put more into one spot with using the same amount of power. Yeah, let's read into this. Tech titans have a new way to measure who is winning in the race for AI supremacy. Who can put the most NVIDIA chips in one place? I think stock market's actually kind of, Nvidia's not doing hot today. What's the Nasdaq's up though. Interesting. Companies that run big data centers have been vying for the past 2 years to buy up the artificial intelligence processors that are Nvidia's specialty. Now, some of the most ambitious players are escalating those efforts by building so-called superclusters of the computer sensors that cost billions of dollars and contain unprecedented numbers of NVIDIA's most advanced chips. Elon Musk xAI built a supercomputer it calls Colossus with 100,000 of NVIDIA's Hopper AI chips in Memphis in a matter of months. Meta chief executive Mark Zuckerberg said last month that his company was already training its most advanced AI models on a conglomeration of chips he called bigger than anything I've seen reported for what others are doing. It's like a, you know, who has the bigger dick, essentially. Like, he's like, I don't know what Elon Musk's doing, but from what I've seen, we have the biggest. Elon Musk's like, we have the biggest. A year ago, clusters of tens of thousands of chips were seen as very large. OpenAI used around 10,000 of NVIDIA's chips to train the version of ChatGPT it launched in late 2022. UBS analysts estimated such a push towards larger superclusters could help NVIDIA sustain a growth trajectory that has seen it rise from above about $7 billion of quarterly revenue 2 years ago to more than $35 billion today. Yeah. Only going to go up. That jump has helped make it the world's most valuable publicly listed company with a market cap of more than $3.5 trillion. It's crazy. Installing many chips in one place linked together by super fast networking cables has so far produced larger AI models at faster rates. But there are questions about whether even bigger superclusters could help, will continue to translate into smarter chatbots and more convincing image generation tools. The continuation of the AI boom for NVIDIA also depends in great measure on how the largest clusters of chips pan out. The trend promises not only a wave of buying for its chips, but also fosters demand for NVIDIA's networking equipment, which is fast becoming a significant business and brings in billions of dollars of sales each year. Yeah, the other day when we covered NVIDIA's earnings, we actually looked into that because one thing that sets NVIDIA apart is like they kind of have a stack of of software, hardware that is kind of intertwined together, that even if a company were to come along and make a GPU that is in similar, that could compete with NVIDIA, NVIDIA has CUDA, they have this networking equipment, they have InfiniBand, they have, all kinds of like stuff that help it, connect, and they have an ecosystem essentially, and I feel like that's what the other companies are going to be missing coming into it, and especially with AI, you need to be able to communicate very quickly, and with like the networking technology that NVIDIA has that just works hand in hand with their GPUs, it's kind of a no-brainer. They bought Mellanox earlier this year, last year. Mellanox. Yeah, NVIDIA bought them, but they were computer networking. I think that they had Infinite. Yeah, they had InfiniBand. Yep. So this is shit like this, like other companies don't really have this. It's hard for them to compete with that. NVIDIA's chief executive Jensen Huang said in a call with analysts following its earnings Wednesday that there was still plenty of room for so-called AI foundation models to improve with larger scale computing setups. He predicted continued investment as the company transitions to its next generation AI chips called Blackwell, which are several times as powerful as its current chips. I think it's like 3-ish times as powerful, but I think it's like, I don't remember, but it uses like 3 times as much power for like 30 times compute or something. Wong said that while the biggest clusters of training for giant AI models now topped out around 100,000 of NVIDIA's current chips, the next generation starts around 100,000 Blackwells. Wow. So that gives you a sense of where the industry is moving. And if this is like magnitudes larger than these chips, then I mean, this is huge. The stakes are higher for companies such as xAI and Meta, which are racing against each other for computing power bragging rights, but are also gambling that having more of NVIDIA's chips called GPUs will translate into commensurately better AI models. Commensurately. There's no evidence that this will scale to 1 million chips and 100 billion systems. But there are $100 billion systems, but there are observations that they have scaled extremely well, all the way from just dozens of chips to hundreds of thousands, said Dylan Patel, the chief analyst at Semi-Analysis, a research firm. Yeah, this guy's cool. I've watched a lot of interviews. He's really smart. And Semi-Analysis is a great publication, newsletter. In addition to xAI and Meta, OpenAI and Microsoft have been working to build up significant new computing facilities for AI. Google's building massive data centers to house chips that drive its AI strategy. Wong marveled on a podcast last month at the speed with which Musk had built his Colossus cluster and affirmed that more larger ones were on the way. He pointed to efforts to train models distributed across multiple data centers. Yeah, and this is essentially what we're going to have to do because of power constraints and other constraints that we just can't put that much like compute in a single facility. But the problem is though is the like intercommunication between the data centers. It can't be as fast as like the InfiniBand within the data center or between the GPUs itself. You can't. That's going to be what we're going to be missing. So that's kind of the next problem to solve, and along with power. But yeah, like I think Microsoft was saying where it's like they physically can't have like like certain data centers in like they only have so many data centers in certain states because of the power in things, and so the fact that they could only have certain in specific states like is kind of a big blocker for them because they need it to be close together to communicate faster. Do we think that we need millions of GPUs? No doubt, Wong said. That is a certainty now, and the question is how do we architect it from a data center perspective? Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised in the future if NVIDIA starts selling like just entire data centers, or like they'll build it and like design it for you with all of their equipment. Like they're essentially like the data center tech stack. On a Microsoft data center in Mount Pleasant, Wisconsin earlier this year. Yeah. Unprecedented superclusters are already getting airplay. Musk posted that last month on his social platform X that his 100,000 chip Colossus supercluster was soon to become a 200,000 chip supercluster in a single building. He also posted in June that the next step would probably be a 300,000 chip cluster of NVIDIA's newest chip next summer. This is so much money. It's crazy. I just don't like. Elon Musk essentially took a natural gas pipeline in Tennessee near the data center and is using that to power its facility. So I wonder how much that could scale if he could do it all in the same spot. The rise of superclusters comes as their operators prepare for the Blackwell chips, which are set to start shipping out in the next couple of months. They're estimated to cost around $30,000 each, meaning a cluster of $100,000 would cost $3 billion. That's what I'm saying, bro. So 300,000 would cost like $10 billion. Not counting the price of power generation infrastructure and IT equipment around the chips, and labor costs to manage and maintain the data centers, things like that. I mean, that's probably a lot smaller, but it's definitely a cost, and it's going to be like, as you get more chips, you need more maintenance and such, more people to manage. Those dollar figures make building up superclusters with even more chips something of a gamble, industry insiders say, given that it isn't clear that they will improve AI models to a degree that justifies their cost. Yeah, I think compute is definitely a part of the plateau we're having right now, but I think I don't necessarily. I also think that the data is a part of the bottleneck, and I don't know if throwing more compute will necessarily solve that if we don't have any more data. I don't know. New engineering challenges also often arise with large clusters. Meta researchers said in a July paper that a cluster of more than 16,000 of NVIDIA's GPUs suffered from unexpected failures of chips and other components routinely as the company trained in an advanced version of its Llama model over 54 days. Yeah, and I think that's where the human part's going to come in. They trained it over 54 days. That's interesting. It took so long. Keeping NVIDIA chips cool is also a major challenge as clusters of power-hungry chips become packed more closely together. Industry executives say part of the reason there's a shift towards liquid cooling, where refrigerant is piped directly to chips to keep them from overheating. Yeah, and we actually covered this last week, how NVIDIA's new chips, because of the way that they're packed more closely together, and because of the design, their design doesn't necessarily just slide into existing data center like infrastructure. You kind of need to do some changes to ensure that there's not going to be overheating. And people who have some early testing like equipment from NVIDIA in their new Blackwell series has been reporting that there's been overheating problems kind of due to its custom nature when you install into the data center. So that's an interesting problem. But overheating in general, GPUs has been I feel like that's also a big bottleneck, is especially in consumer GPUs. It's like you could only make it so big to add a cooling like manifest on it. Like you could only make it so big for consumer GPUs. So yeah. And the sheer size of the superclusters required a stepped up level of management of those chips when they fail. Mark Adams, chief executive of Penguin Solutions, a company that helps set up and operate computing infrastructure, said elevated complexity in running large clusters of chips inevitably throws up problems. When you look at everything that can go wrong, you could be utilizing half of your capital expenditure was because of all these things that can break down, he said. Yeah, and I think that's where the human portion comes into. Because if you want to be able to move quickly, you're going to need a lot of people to be able to troubleshoot all the things that happen or come up. Yeah, interesting times for data centers. Glad we're seeing a big a lot of growth in them though. So yeah, all right, that's all I got planned for today's stream. A little bit of a shorter one. We're actually gonna have an even shorter one tomorrow, maybe around an hour. I just might boot up and fart around. I want to try more AI software, and I want to present it on stream here. So I think we might mess around with some AI software tomorrow, or I also want to do more like agent building and agent stuff on stream here too. So yeah, thanks for tuning in today. This week 10 a.m. streams too. Oh, what am I trying to get to? Here we go. 10 a.m. streams this week. Just trying it out. We'll see at the end of the week. I might try it a little bit longer, like next week too. But I do like the 8 a.m. so far. I like just kind of waking up and jumping into it a little quicker. But I don't know. We'll give it a shot. So tomorrow 10 a.m. Pacific. Thanks for tuning in, and catch you later. Subscribe to my YouTube. Uploading more videos on there. I have to figure out how to end 9 streams.